Hey guys, Rob here, Rob Tatro. This is episode 132 of The Running Journey. And last week was a story of ridiculous success, celebration, courage as my brother Victor and Simo conquered 500 kilometers bike across Manitoba in one single day. If you haven't checked out that episode, that is episode 131. Go listen to it now. This episode is the other side of the ledger. It is my story of disappointment, failure, and dealing with my first ever DNF. DNF is short for did not finish. I had never not completed a race in my life prior to this day. I recorded this the day after my DNF, and it's very raw. And I don't know. I didn't know if I should share this as an episode, but I recorded it thinking, well, worst case, I want to capture these emotions. I want to know how I felt after my first DNF. And throughout this episode, you will notice very negative language from me. You'll notice I keep referring to stuff as my first failure, my failure in life. Well, I have failed in life many, many times before, and I've failed in business. I've failed in marriage. I've failed in parenting my kids. I've failed in board games. I failed in a lot of things in life. What I was referencing here is my first failure in a race, real failure, real DNF in a race. So I'm a little short-sighted, you will notice, but it's raw, it's real. It's me dealing with the fact that I had to pick up my bike and quit Charlie's Bike Across Manitoba. And I struggled mightily with this decision. I will let you listen to it. It's raw, it's real, it's emotional, and I'll tell you what, at the end of this episode, once you've listened to it, feel free to send me an invoice for the $120 therapy session that you just listened to. All right, guys, this is episode 132 of The Running Journey. I hope you get as much usage out of this episode that I did, because God knows in the future, I will be ready to deal with the thought of quitting, the thought of failure, and actual failure. It's a tremendously valuable episode, in my opinion, for anyone who's ever thought about quitting during a race. I think there's a lot of meat in here on the bone for you to take. Enjoy the episode, guys. Hey guys, Rob Tatro here. I am joining you guys live from my house. Last week on the episode, you heard my brother's story and Simo and Victor, their story. What an unbelievable story that was. Their success in crossing Manitoba in a single day is deeper than just the 500 kilometers, I think. It starts with the whole concept that my brother had, the spark of an idea to do something crazy to celebrate what is really the most amazing accomplishment that he's ever done. I'd say 24 years sober. I know I've done 3, and it's very, very hard. So for him to have done 24 years sober, to choose to quote unquote celebrate it, probably the wrong word, but to celebrate it with a challenge, only like my brother can do. He makes his ideas, his dreams reality, is what his wife told me when I texted him the night of the race. I'm recording this the day after my first ever DNF, my first ever failure. So, but just to finish that thought, the bike ride was yesterday, but like for my brother to think of this, for him to, rope in Simo, Chris Morissette, Victor Loet, and I guess myself into this event, all the logistics, the organizing, the crews that we had 3 or 4 crews going. We had volunteers, the food, the clothing, the motorhome. Like, it's all my brother who put this together, and it's all about him. And so that you heard that episode last week. It's phenomenal. Never mind the biking, never mind biking through. They did it in 15 hours. They did 500 kilometers in 15 hours, just under 500 kilometers in 15 hours. So they averaged over 30 kilometers an hour for an entire day. Just blows my mind. So I am a cyclist. So I have cycled. I qualified for Ironman World Championships. I'm the Guinness record holder for fastest barefoot triathlon. I'm a pretty good cyclist. I'm not on the same planet as these guys, and I'm good. I cycle quite a bit. I'm not on the same planet as these guys. So what they did on the cycling side was so impressive. That being said, this episode is not about their amazing accomplishment. We celebrated that last week. I'm celebrating it once more. And I want to talk to you guys about my first ever DNF. This is the first time I've ever failed at anything. And the emotional roller coaster that I went through since failing, since deciding to quit yesterday. So this is my side of the story. Last week, you guys heard my brother and Simo. Same ride, same mission. My day ended differently. What I went through afterward, the lessons I've learned from this. And this is by far the most important thing I've learned, in personal fitness journey, I think ever. And the reason I'm recording this episode is it's raw. It's very raw. It's very real. And it's right now. So I'm taking a stab at this. I don't know if this episode will turn out, but I'm going to share with you guys this mostly because I want to document it for myself. But also, I say all the time on this podcast, it's our podcast. We can do what we want. Charlie and I can do what we want. It's our podcast. You guys don't have to listen. Thank you for choosing to listen. We do value you guys as listeners. But I'm going to be vulnerable today, and I'm going to share with you what was the most difficult thing I think I've ever had to do athletics-wise, which is quit on something that was so incredibly valuable for my brother, so important for my brother, and so important for me. I had to quit, and how much pain and suffering I went through internally, not physically, just internally in my heart, and how much crying I did. I'm going to try to share some of that with you guys here because it was, I think it's worth sharing. So you guys heard our story, Charlie's story in last week's episode. And I came into this thing. So this is a little bit of excuses, but I don't want to excuse. I'm going to try to be raw and vulnerable because I really am going to state here multiple times that I did fail at this. I'm not as good as those guys. I was not in the same boat as them. I am at peace with this today, by the way. Those of you who know me probably think that's impossible. You guys probably think I'm faking this. I'm lying about this. I truly am at peace with it. I truly am at peace with the decision that I made. I'm at peace. I'm proud of what I did. And I can't believe I can say that honestly and truthfully to you guys because my brother was so scared of talking to me after I quit. He's just like, oh my God, Rob's going to be a different animal. Rob's going to be a different level of miserable today. And I was. Here's the truth, guys. I was. So I'm going to tell you guys a bit about this munchkin. I call it a munchkin. It's the quitting munchkin. I've never felt this thing, but I felt it. It wired a place in my brain. And at first it was just a tiny, tiny speck. I'm going to talk about this quitting munchkin and how this munchkin eventually took over my whole brain and told me that there was nothing else I could do but quit. I'm going to talk about the struggles that I had. And then I want to finish you guys off with the aftermath, what I did today. I went to see my brother and we celebrated and what I learned, lessons that I learned. This is very hard for me to admit, by the way. It's kind of like the drinking thing all over again. Admitting you have a drinking problem is the hardest thing you can do. Once you get that off your shoulders, once you're like, I have a drinking problem. And once that's off your shoulder and you can say that to people, to their face, it totally changes the game because now you're okay with what's going on and everyone else is also, and you're no longer hiding this deep secret. So this deep secret that I had was that I failed, right? This is the secret. I quit. I quit yesterday. I quit on my brother's Cross Manitoba run. So I was bragging the weeks ahead of this, which is crazy because now I have a podcast and I can't hide those things. You guys could just go back in time and listen to what I said, listen to Rob saying that he's never DNF'd anything. Clearly, I'm going to finish this, right? I've never DNF'd anything. I'm going to finish this 500K. How hard could it be? You hear me saying this. How hard could it be? Well, I didn't finish it. I quit. So I think you guys know this. I ran 14 marathons in 14 days, and I came into this thing. I had the biggest dopamine crash I've ever had in my life. I got back here on Monday. Tuesday, I went to the office. It was just a complete disaster for me. I slept most of the day. Wednesday was more sleeping and just eating and trying to get ready for this thing. So I was eating carbs and just trying to get ready. Thursday and then Friday, like, we're leaving. So like I had 2 days here, and then Thursday night I spent kind of running around the city grabbing. I had to buy lights. I had to buy gloves for my bike. I had to buy Scratch. I was out of Scratch because I drank/ate. Scratch is the sugar biking substitute that people use in their water to get calories and carbs from drinks. So, I had to grab some Scratch. I had to grab, it was just a stress for me because thank God Marco was there helping me. We had to prep the RV. So the RV needed to be prepped for this Cross Manitoba run. So I was doing that Thursday night, just trying to get ready. And we got it done. I bought everything I needed. My brain was still very, very foggy, and I was not feeling good. I told my coach, my personal training coach, Joel, on Thursday when I worked out with him, first activity I did since running with Rob. He goes, "Are you doing this thing tomorrow?" And I was like, yeah. And he goes, "You're going to do the whole thing?" And I heard myself say this. I said, "Well, I'm going to do what I can to support my brother." And all of a sudden, I had given myself an out, right? I'd given myself an out. And I'd kind of joked about that in the podcast too. Well, I'll do what I can. I truly didn't know if I'd be able to do this thing. And I wanted to give myself an out. Obviously, this is self-preservation, right? If you're giving yourself an out, you're trying to make yourself feel better after the fact, right? You're trying to say, "Oh, well, I wasn't ready to do that." I even talked about how it was going to be tough ahead of time. So here I am the day before, already pre-lining up excuses for myself. So I did the excuses. Friday, I try to get ready. Like, people were at my house at 7:00 Friday night prepping. We're getting the bikes on the RV. We're getting all the food and the bags. And it was just a lot of prep. And then we drove out there. I convinced Diego and my parents to be one of the 2 crews. Diego's a crew. My parents were a crew. And then Chris's dad, Norm, and his wife, Mavis, were a crew. So we had 3 crews, and we were supposed to rotate through them. And we were supposed to, I think some they ended up doing way more work than we thought for a couple of reasons, which, you heard last week, but like the motorhome fell apart. And anyways, those guys were all so instrumental to this. But I want to talk about this failure of mine. So we start at midnight. I am deathly tired. We didn't sleep. So this is Charlie trying to make it hard on us, right? We didn't sleep. So that means you're doing 500 kilometers of biking on no sleep. So I was already budding. Budding is my French word for pouting. It's like means unhappy attitude. It's like feel free to use this if you're an Anglophone if your kids are not eating their peas or something. Arrête de bouder. Stop budding. So I was budding already at the start. And I was thinking, okay, well, I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to do what I can today. So the day started. I started at the border, and I could tell pretty early on that I was in a different weight class than these guys. These were heavyweights. I was a bantam lightweight or a flyweight or whatever the heck it was. These 3 guys finished top 3 at the podium at the Western Canadian long course triathlon. They were the podium, and I was the scorekeeper. That's how I felt with these guys. They were just on a different level. I could see them cruising along at 33, 34, 35, 36 kilometers an hour. They looked like they weren't even pedaling. For me, it was a battle. So I told them early on, guys, I can't go this fast. Like, I did a couple hours, and I was like, guys, like, my heart rate's going up. I can't go this fast. We need to slow down here. So there was a spot at kilometer, I think just outside of Brandon. No, before that. Yeah, maybe I think Brandon was for us. Listen, I might get the dates and I might get the times and the spots wrong. But the key is that the key is not where I was, it's just how I felt. So I was like, guys, I can't go this fast. I can't go this fast. So they kept slowing down. They kept slowing down. Then I was making it through. We were a group and I was kind of making it through. And then between Brandon and Portage, I started really struggling, really struggling. And I don't know what was going on, but something was going on. And you heard us talk about it last week, but Charlie had inadvertently screwed up my chain on my bike. So I was pushing so hard and felt like I wasn't moving. So I told the guys, I said, something's not right with me today, guys. So I don't know what's going on, but my body doesn't want to bike. My body can't push any watts. And I do a lot of biking. So I know a lot. Well, I don't want to say I do a lot of biking, but I did a 5 hour, a 4 and 2, 4, a 5, a 4.5 and a 4 in the last month leading up to this and prep for this. So I kind of know what I can push wattage wise and speed. And I did not feel like that. So I immediately said to the guys, something's wrong. Either something's wrong with my bike, to which everyone was like, well, I don't think anything's wrong with your bike, Rob. Or something's wrong with me. And it might be PI. The fact that I just did 14 marathons and I'm in a crux of a dopamine crash here. So everyone's like, oh, it might be that. Well, that's okay. We'll just slow down. Anyways, we got to a stretch where at around a kilometer 100 or so, or maybe just a bit past, where it became really hard for me to follow these guys. And I kept telling Charlie and Simo, and slow down. And then all of a sudden, it's kind of hard for me. It was very hard for me to tell them that. So they kept slowing down. Now they're going 31. Now they're going 30 or 29. I kept saying, can we slow down? Can we slow down? And I could see, I could sense, and this is not how they actually felt. I just felt like I was in the way. I felt like, oh my God, these guys don't need me here. They could bike way faster than this, and I'm slowing them down. So I started feeling this sentiment of guilt. And also when I was following them, like they were like a well-oiled machine, one behind the other, head down. They were just going. And I liked taking the odd break. I like slowing down for a bit. I like stretching on my bike. I like drinking water, taking peas. But all of a sudden, it was getting hard for me to follow them. So my heart rate started creeping up, 130, 140, 145, 150, 155. And I told my brother, I said, I can't do this. My heart rate's at 155. I need to stop. And I knew I was running out of gas. I knew the pace I was going, I would have to stop. So my brother said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I think I'll just go by myself, or you guys go ahead. So I sent them ahead. I said, you guys go ahead. And I went back to the RV. I put my bike on the back and I waited a bit. They were gone. And then I told Norm, I took my bike off and I said, you go. Norm is Simo's dad. You just go ahead without me and I'll catch up to you guys. I'll bike at my own speed. I just want to see how fast I'm actually able to bike because I hadn't quit yet. I wanted to just see, can I ride at 20 kilometers an hour? Can I do 22? Can I do 24 at like zone 1, zone 2? And then if I could do that, I wanted to do the math. I wanted to see, can I still finish today? Remember, we had a 24-hour deadline. So that was my plan. Well, Norm didn't like that plan. He said, Rob, you're not biking behind the RV. We're not doing that. That's too dangerous. Get in the RV. I can't let you do that, were his exact words. And I argued. I said, Norm, those were my exact words. Norm, just get it. Like I was going to say, just get out of the way. Like, let me do my thing here. And I have a ton of respect for Norm. So I'm telling this story now. Anyways, the guy cares. The guy cares a lot. And the guy gave his entire day for us, him and his partner, Mavis. They were awesome. They were friendly. But this was my moment of truth. This was, if he wouldn't let me bike, that means I was quitting. I didn't want to quit. I couldn't follow those guys, but I didn't want to quit. So I was kind of out of options. So Norm was like, get in the RV. So I got in the RV. I laid down. And it was just burning inside me that those guys were biking without me. This was at kilometer, I think 147, something like that. It was burning inside of me that those guys were out ahead of me and I wasn't biking. I was like, I don't want to quit, but I kind of don't have a choice. So what happened is the group had like, I want to say 10, I don't know, I could be wrong, something like 10 kilometers to the next stop. I couldn't even do the last 10 kilometers to the next stop. That's how bad my heart rate was. That's how bad I was hurting. So they did the 10 kilometers, and then the RV stopped. As soon as I felt the RV stopped, I asked Mavis, "Is this our break?" She said, "Yeah." "Oh, but the guys are coming in, so just stay where you are." I said, "I just want to go check something out." I went out. I took my bike off the rack. I didn't say a word to anyone, and I just started biking. I started biking by myself, and it was hard. It was very hard. I said, "I just want to see what I can do." I told my brother very briefly, "I just want to see how fast I can bike." So I missed those 10 kilometers. I wasn't biking with the crew. So I started biking, and I did these 10 kilometers, and it was hard. I don't know what was going on. It was hard. So I'm biking. It's hard. And it's like, oh my God, like this is going to take me forever. I was doing like 22, 23 kilometers an hour, 24 maybe. I don't know. It was very slow. And I've done way faster than that. Like, obviously, I know that I can bike 30 pretty easy, zone 2, pretty easy. So like, I didn't know what was going on. I said, wow, this PI must have killed me. Anyways, I was doing that. I was doing those paces. I knew they had a 30-minute stop, 20 or 30-minute stop. So I knew if I could get enough of a head start, it would take them a while to pass me. And I knew the next stop was 40 minutes, I think. So I biked head down, and I just biked by myself. And all of a sudden, I was kind of at peace. I was at peace. I wasn't moving fast, but I was at peace. I was like, you know what? I'm good here. So what happened is they passed me. I don't know how far. I have no recollection, but they passed me. Charlie, Simo, and Victor, they passed me. And in true Charlie form, I don't think he wanted to mess with me. They just passed and said, like, good luck. Or actually, he told me, take your jacket off. I still had my jacket from the morning when it was cold, and I still had it on. It was getting hot. So I took my jacket off, laid it on the side of the road. They went ahead, and now the RV was following me. And I was like, what's going on here? Simo's dad doesn't want to let me ride by myself. So I guess he's going to follow me, and he's not going to follow his son and Charlie and Victor. So I started thinking, oh my God, that's not good. That's not good at all. So I rode another, I don't know, hour and a bit by myself, just barely moving, 22, 23 kilometers. Finally, I stopped the RV and I said, hey, what's the plan here? Those guys need water. Like, those guys need support up there. And they told me, we called your dad. Your dad's on his way. My dad was supposed to show up later in the day, but like, we called your dad. He's going to come early, and he's going to come follow you. I said, perfect. So my dad and my parents were coming to follow me. Well, they've just been following me for 14 days in PI. So what's another day to follow me? So, all of a sudden I was good. My parents were behind me. I had no pain really, except for biking really slow. I settled my own rhythm. I would stop and I'd pee, and I'd drink when I wanted, and I'd stretch, and it was just like the autonomy just kept me going. And I had quit right earlier-ish. I kind of got up but I thought, okay, I can do this. I can finish this. I was doing the math, 22 kilometers an hour, a few minute breaks every hour. I can make it in time. I can make it in time for the border. So I just have to keep going. This is zone 1, zone 2. It's like doing a 100K race or a 100-miler. Just keep moving. And I was positive. I was pumped about this. I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to finish this thing. I was a little worried about the whole, like, we were going to be pretty far apart, like our RV versus the car. But for now, I was like, just keep biking. I was biking. And then I got to Portage La Prairie, and the last stretch to Portage La Prairie was tough for me. And I was like, I don't know what speed I was doing. It felt really slow. And I pulled into the parking lot. I wanted to get to Portage La Prairie before they were gone, because they had a 40-minute stop at Portage La Prairie. So I think that was 4 hours by myself. I don't know. I'm guessing here. 4 hours by myself, just kind of slowly chugging along. And I was like, well, they're an hour faster than me at least. So I left before them. I didn't want to miss them at the spot. I wanted to at least talk to them. They were waiting for 40 minutes in Portage la Prairie was the plan. And Charlie had a schedule. So Charlie, as you guys heard last week, Charlie was determined to follow the schedule till the end at least. But in the beginning part, media was meeting us. So I knew we were going to stay on schedule. So I knew if I could just get there before they left, I'd be able to like quickly make a plan and whatever. So I pulled into the parking lot. I know we were meeting at the Tim Hortons at Portage la Prairie across from the Canadians. And I saw my motorhome was there, Run with Rob on the side. A little pep in my step. So I biked into it, and Norm was there with his arms, and he goes, "You got a flat tire." I was like, "Are you kidding me right now?" He's like, "You got a flat tire, dude." I look, I'm like, "Where?" It's like, "Your back one." I'd been riding on a flat tire. So I was like, "You gotta be kidding me." He's like, "Give me that. We'll fix it for you." So him, Diego, my mom, my dad, Mavis, they're all working on Charlie, Victor, Simo. Everyone's working on my tire because that's the kind of people they are. They just wanted me to succeed at this thing. I went and I laid down. I crushed as much food as I could. I laid down and I was like, oh my God, like that was such a hard ride for 22 kilometers an hour. Like that was such a hard ride. And then my brother's like, "You're not going to believe what else we did. I screwed up your chain." I was like, "What do you mean you screwed up my chain?" So there's a part on the back of the chain that goes around. I don't know the terms here, the derailleur or the gear thing or whatever. Anyways, he didn't put it around. So I said, "Well, how was I able to bike?" He said, "I guess you weren't, the chain wasn't pulling you for all of this." So I don't know. He's like, "Oh, I can't believe you were able to do that." So all of a sudden I got excited. I was like, "Oh," he says, "Rob, it's going to feel night and day. We're going to fix this bike for you. And you're going to be a new man." I was like, "Really?" He's like, yeah, you're going to feel like a new man." And I was so excited. I was like, "Oh my God." So instead of fixing my flat, Charlie just gave me his backup wheel, a disc wheel. He's like, you're going to love this. It's going to go fast. A cheater wheel. Gave me the disc wheel. I put it on the back and I started going. And I said, "Guys, I want a head start on you guys. So I'm going to go. Secretly, I wanted to be by myself because I didn't want to slow those guys down. I hated slowing those guys down. So I went by myself. So I just went out there and biked. And I took, I don't know, a lead of some sort. So Portage la Prairie to Winnipeg is like, I don't know, what is that? 80, 90K maybe? I don't know. So I knew that I had roughly 4 hours, maybe it's more, 100K. I don't know. I knew I had roughly 4 hours to Winnipeg. And I knew that like I wanted to bike that solo, most of it solo. Anyways, I wanted to see. So I get on this bike. They're still, it turns out I was only 20 minutes behind them. So they still had a 20-minute stop. I went out and I wanted to get a head start. Well, I get on this bike with the new chain and with the wind, and all of a sudden, with the brake, the disc wheel in the back, and all of a sudden I'm doing 30, 31, no sweat. My speed is up again. I'm feeling good. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be able to do this. So, I'm cruising along at 30 and they're not catching up to me because I was biking pretty fast. So we get to Eli. And then we did a short stop in Eli, a brief stop. And we had like 40 kilometers from Eli to Winnipeg. So just over an hour. And my parents were like, "Hey, can we maybe, what do you want to do with the extra vehicle?" Because now we had an extra vehicle. So I said, "We don't need the extra vehicle. All right. I will ride as a team." And then the other person, because Diego was waiting to go home. So I said, "Diego can go home and I'll finish the ride as a team." I felt good. And I was like, okay, well, I could follow these guys for sure now. It was my bike and it was my chain. I'm able to follow them. Sent the other car home. So now we only had the RV, 40K to Winnipeg. And then we're going to meet the media. And then I had an easy leg through the city. I was like, oh my God, this is looking up. I said, I'm going to go out first. I'm going to get a head start again. So I got a head start again. And I went out first. The wind picked up. The wind was strong. And in those last 20K, Charlie, Simo, and Victor caught up to me. And when they caught up to me, they slowed down. And they're like, "Let's ride together." Someone said, "Let's ride together." I was like, "Sure. Yeah, we don't really have a choice because there's no other crew to support me." So I rode with those guys, and right away I could sense my heart rate going up right away. These guys were doing, I don't know what they were doing, 32 in that wind. So now the wind was kind of against us. So they're doing like 32, 33, 34, I think, into the wind. And I know that I was drafting. So I know that it's a much easier to draft. I know that. It's much easier as a group. I know that. I'm just telling you guys, I couldn't do it. I couldn't follow them. It was too hard for me. So Charlie's like, I kept falling back, getting dropped, as they call it. And when you're biking, if you can't follow someone, you get dropped. You're not able to stay on their wheel. So they kept saying, just stay on his wheel, stay on the wheel, stay on the wheel. Like, just stay on Simo's wheel and you'll be fine. And I kept saying, I can't do it, guys. I can't do it. And they would slow down. They'd slow down like 1 kilometer. And then someone would get forgetful. And these guys were biking at such an easy pace that for them, it was like so easy that it'd be like if I was doing 11-minute miles and all of a sudden I'm doing 10:30s. Well, 11-minute miles for me and 10:30s is like, those are free miles, right? Those are easy miles. So I wouldn't notice the difference. But if I'm running with, say, my mom or something, that's a big difference for her. She would notice it. So that's how I felt. I felt like I was like outmatched, and not only outmatched, but like I was putting everything in there just to follow them. So I had 20K left in Winnipeg, and that's when this munchkin showed up. I was following Simo, and all of a sudden this munchkin showed up in my head, and it was like, you're going to do this for 12 more hours, Rob? You're going to follow this guy on his wheel, and you're not going to take any breaks, and you're not going to drink water, and you're not going to stretch, and you're just going to have your head down. You're going to go as hard as you possibly can for 12 straight hours. That's what you're going to do? And I was like, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. And then it was just like a tiny little piece of my head, this munchkin. And then he was getting louder and louder. And I was sitting there in aero bars following Simo, and I could hear the perfect whir, perfect buzzing noise of his perfect bike and his perfect form. And I looked around at my brother, who's not even breathing, and at Victor, who's smiling at me. He's like, yeah, we're doing this. And I was just like, I don't belong here. I don't belong with these guys. I can't. These guys are on a Sunday stroll. Like, so a couple more times I said, can we slow down? A couple more times. Can we please slow down? I wasn't trying to be a dick, but I know that for them, they were like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, slow down again? They didn't say that. My brother's like, whatever you need, Rob. I was like, hey, but Charlie, I want to drink water. He's like, yeah, well, just tell us. No big deal. We'll slow down. I was like, no, but like, I want to stretch sometimes. And he's like, that's fine. Just tell us and we'll stop. And I was like, it wasn't about the slowing down. I realized it was about the agency, the control. I lost control once I was in that group. And for me to fire at almost 100% efficiency nonstop, I couldn't do it mentally. I think I could do it physically because I checked my heart rate. It was only at 121 to 124. At the end, they were doing like 27 for me, 27, 28. And I was drafting. So that should have been pretty easy for me to bike. But it wasn't mentally. So physically, I felt fine. Like, this is a day after. I'm recording this the next day and I feel like $1 million. But I was just struggling mentally. This munchkin just was there. And I'd never decided to quit anything in my life. And all of a sudden, I had 25K to go to Winnipeg. And it was just, with every stride, you should quit. You should quit. You should quit. You can't do this. You can't do this for 12 more hours. You can't do it for 12 more hours. You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't do it. I was looking at my watch, looking at the kilometers, and you can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do this. And it just got bigger, this thought. And I had never in my life experienced this munchkin. I guess I thought I was indestructible. I thought I was invincible. I thought I would never quit anything in my life. Well, I quit. I quit on the bike with about 10K left to get to. I quit in a period of about 15 minutes. I quit. That's the period. That's all I had. That's all I did. And that I quit. From the moment, like, oh my God, this is going to be hard, to I'm done, was like 15 minutes. And the last 10K, was kind of like a celebratory ride. The last 10K to get to Nix Inn in Headingley, our next stop was in Nix Inn in Headingley, was like celebrating that I was almost done and then this would all be over. And I'm so embarrassed, that's how but I'm owning it. Today I'm owning it. And quitting hit me hard. Like it felt like I'd failed my brother. It felt like I'd failed myself. It felt like I'd failed the whole crew, my parents, Simo's parents, Diego, Marco, everyone that cared and put effort into this. And for some reason I thought that it was like, well, if I don't finish, I'm not supporting my brother in his quest, right? I'm not his quest to get across Manitoba in a day. Well, if I'm not supporting him, I'm a failure. I'm a huge failure, and I need to support my brother. So I sat down. We did all these media interviews, and those were the hardest to do because we did media interviews as I had already decided I was quitting. I hadn't told anyone, but I was quitting. So the guy's like, how hard is it to do this cross Manitoba bike? And I'm like, it's really hard. I just said that. C'est très difficile. And my brother's like, well, it's hard, but we're getting it done, Like my brother's like, no, we're going to get it done. And my brother, as positive as he was. So I quit. I put my bike on the thing. I told Victor and Simo first because I couldn't bear to tell my brother. I told Victor and Simo, hey guys, I'm tapping out. And Simo's like, dude, like it was so hard for him because I know what he wanted to say. He was torn between saying, I think you can do this, man. We're way more than halfway done. We'll slow down. And he was torn between saying, you do what's right for you. So he said, I think the perfect thing. He's like, something like, listen, I want you out there more than you could possibly imagine, but I support you and I'm thankful that you did what you could. And I was like, oh, thanks, Simo. And there's one part I forgot to mention. When I quit, the first part, when I hung up my bike on the back of the RV, I went back there and I cried. I cried by myself. This is like 6 hours before, 8 hours before, whatever, at a kilometer 140. I cried by myself. And I was just there in the back of the RV and I was just crying and I just hung up my bike and my brother kind of peered around the corners. Like, he said 3 things. He said, hey, are you okay? And then he said, it's not a big deal that you're stopping. I'm so proud of you and I'm so thankful that you supported me as best you could. And then he said, I love you. My brother said that to me. Yeah, my brother. We've never said that to each other ever. So I was just like, hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, okay. It actually gave me the strength, 1, to continue, and 2, to accept that maybe I wouldn't be able to finish this and to start to be okay with it because my brother was okay with me stepping aside. So when I decided to quit there, I quit. I told him, I said, I'm Charlie, I'm done. And he goes, thank you for doing this. And I just kept saying, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry, Charlie. I'm sorry. Like, I'm so freaking sorry, man. He's like, hey, it's okay. It's okay, Rob. Like, it's okay. Thank you for stepping up. Thank you for trying to get this done. And don't worry, like, I will get this done. And I'm thankful that I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that. So I left. I was miserable. They went and biked. I got in the RV and I got dropped off at home and I just cried. And I just like, what kind of failure am I? Quitting like really hit me hard. I'd failed my brother. So I started calling my mom and being like, well, first I went for a nap and the nap was misery because there's just like these nightmares of me quitting on my brother. And I kept calling my mom, how are they doing? How are they doing? And they dealt through all this stuff that you heard last week, which is like just crazy amount of stuff that they dealt with, the downpour, the RV getting a gas leak. Anyways, they had no change of clothes, on and on. They pushed through and they finished exactly on schedule. It's like my brother planned it, Mr. Spreadsheet, and finished exactly on schedule, ahead of schedule. And like they finished, obviously. And my mom, I was on the phone with my mom for the last stretch, just texting and calling her and what's happening now, how close are they now? And I was living vicariously through my mom and through them. And I was like, just so happy for them. And last night I didn't sleep. I woke up this morning. I talked to my wife. I said, I want to go do this 180K. And she says, okay, yeah, I support you. If you feel you need to do it, I'm supporting you. I said, yeah, I need to go to Nick's Inn. I need a ride there. And then I'm going to bike to the finish. And then I just need someone to pick me up tonight. I don't know how long it's going to take me. I think it's going to take me 7-8 hours, 6 maybe. I don't know. I can do this 25K an hour. I know I can do it. I want to finish this. She's like, okay, yeah, I support you. One question though, why are you doing this? And I was like, why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing this because I'm not a quitter, and this is going to make that right. She's like, okay. And my wife's a therapist. So, or she's studying to be one anyways. She was a school teacher, but she's so good at this kind of stuff. And I've been talking through a lot of my emotions in the last few years. And I said, you know what, let's talk this through. So we started talking about why I wanted to finish a run. And I just wanted to, I can't accept this failure. I have to close this loop, this mental loop of me failing. It's like, I need to close this loop. Me failing, if I can somehow finish it, get in a car, go do the 180K, then I'll be able to tell people, oh, I finished it, but I was a little tired, fatigued from the marathon. So it took me 2 days. It took me a little longer than my brother, but I finished it. I needed that comfort or whatever, knowing that I was less of a failure, or I'd be only a little bit of a failure, or I wanted to dumb that down a little bit. I cried. I cried like the whole morning. I'm in my suit. All right. I wore my suit. I got my gels in my back. I got my phone. I got everything I need. I'm getting ready to go out the door. I got my shoes on. Like, I am cycling. I'm going out to cycle, and I'm doing this 180K this morning, and I decided I was doing it. And it kind of hit me that I just needed to own this. So finishing it later wouldn't erase quitting in the moment. It might feel good for a day, but it wouldn't change what happened, right? It's not going to change what I did and why I did it. So this was the hardest thing I ever had to do, this quitting thing. But I decided to own it. I decided to own it that I was in over my head, that I came in fatigued, that I did the absolute best I could. I decided to be proud of what I did, and I decided to be encouraging of my brothers Simo and Victor. I was hiding from them. I was like not talking to them because I was so embarrassed, right? I didn't want them to know. I didn't want them to, I couldn't face them. I was like, oh my God, I'm such a failure. I'm such an embarrassment. I can't talk to Simo right now. I can't talk to Victor. Certainly can't talk to my brother, like the failure that I am. So I sat there and I thought about my brother, and I was like, what would my wife's like, what if the roles were reversed? Like, what if he came with Run with Rob or something, and all of a sudden he wasn't able to finish the last 5 or 6 marathons because he was, how would you feel? And I was like, well, I'd be proud that he came, and I'd be happy that he supported me, and I wouldn't give a shit because I knew I still had to finish my thing. And it's like, there you go. And I was like, whew. And it was so powerful, that moment, when I realized that I did give everything I had that day. And I stopped, and there was nothing left. And it's not about me. It's about my brother. And who gives a shit about me? Stop making it about you, Rob. It's about your brother and his quest to commemorate or celebrate his 24 years. And I realized a very, very valuable lesson. So I'm actually proud. I'm proud that I showed up. I'm proud that I did something I don't really like. I don't like cycling. I think you guys know that. I'm proud that I rode with these strong cyclists. And I'm proud that I came to that realization. I think the old Rob would have just gone out, biked the 180K this morning, and been like, still finished. Yeah, didn't have it in me yesterday there, but yeah, I just needed a little bit of sleep. And yeah, I was back at it and I got it done. Like, I know I can bike 180K, right? Like, I know I can do that, but what would it prove? What would it prove? So I think now, when I was processing it, my brother's out there in the rain and Simo's out there battling cold, and I was just processing this entire thing. It's not going to erase the fact that I quit in the moment, right? So I owned it. I'm proud of it. The story isn't that I quit anymore. I did quit, but the story is also that I'm proud of what I did. So, I do have some takeaways that I think are somewhat valuable. Obviously, pick your sustainable pace, protect it, watch for the I might quit moment, right? Or the I might quit thought. And the first time it pops up, it's going to be small. And you have to figure out how to address it. One of the things that I've read about, and that I think Carolyn Coffin mentioned on her podcast, is to associate the I might quit moment with a physical action, whether it's tapping your chest twice or bringing your shoulders back or, snapping an elastic band. That is the line that you're going to use to fight this munchkin. Something like, the munchkin doesn't decide when I quit. This is the first time I dealt with this, so obviously I'm not good at dealing with this munchkin, because I've always thought and I've always known that I would finish every single race. I've always known that I would finish every single race I've ever started. I've always known. So I've never had to deal with this. And I wasn't good at dealing with it. I quit. So I've been reading and practicing and thinking. And I remember that podcast from Carolyn Coffin, and that if you can attach a physical, it becomes like a Pavlovian response, right? If your mind wants to quit, you utter a line of some sort. In my case, like, the munchkin doesn't decide when I quit, and you do a physical action, snap a rubber band, or chest proud, or tap your chest twice, then it's Pavlovian. And eventually all you got to do is tap your chest twice, and it's like, he's not winning. Tap your chest twice. So that's one thing that I've learned. I've learned that mental fatigue can be more dangerous than physical fatigue. So be aware of that. Decide in advance what you'll do when you do hit that wall. And the biggest lesson that I've learned by far is that a DNF does not erase the meaning. It doesn't erase the meaning of what happened here, right? Which was me supporting my brother in his 24 years of sobriety and celebrating in my own little way my 3 years of sobriety, which was the hardest thing, I think, that I've ever done. So, yeah, it's part of my story now. This DNF is part of my story now. It taught me my limits, my mindset, how I'm going to handle this munchkin next time. And finishing isn't necessarily about crossing the line, right? It's about owning the day you didn't. I'm owning this day. I'm not going to let my mind, my you failed mind, dictate what happened here. And that's not going to be the storyline. The storyline is not going to be the munchkin standing on a podium, right? That's not going to be the storyline. The munchkin's there. It's part of the story. But the story is also, holy shit, I went out and I did 300K on a brutal day on no sleep just to support my brother in something I don't enjoy doing. So frick yeah, I'm proud of that. And I'm owning that. I am controlling my own message, and I'm going to own it so that I'm not depressed about it. So I'm owning that day. So I was in over my head. I owned it. I feel great about it. It's been tough, but I can't tell you how great I feel right now. Like, I feel really, really good right now. So after realizing that I would own the day instead, I hadn't talked to my brother yet, because I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed about my performance. I hadn't talked to him. I called Simo, and I had let Simo know that I was proud of them and congratulated those guys. Hadn't talked to my parents either because I was embarrassed, So I got in my car. I went and I picked up an ice cream sandwich and some M&Ms, my brother's favorite treats. And I went to his house and I knocked on the door. And I was smiled. And I just said, how'd the day go? Nothing I like more than talking about races with my brother. Races, bikes less, but I know he likes talking about bikes more, but races are so fun to talk about. So I got in my car, I went over there and we just talked. And I told him about my decision here, about owning the day and how I didn't. And he kept saying, oh, I'm sorry you went through this. And I'm like, don't worry about me, dude. Like, I'm at peace with what I did, and I'm proud to have owned it, and I'm owning it now. And by owning it, it allows me to be happy for you, and it allows us to not have any barriers between us. This whole I'm ashamed, I'm embarrassed, and the whole feeling that he's got to feel bad for me. You don't have to feel bad for me, Charlie. Like, geez. So we sat there, and he talked, and he talked, and he talked, and he gave me the story and how hard it was, and this, and Simo, and the storm, and just the whole part, because I wasn't there for the last stretch. So I got the story. I loved it. I loved hearing it from him. And it was awesome, because then we got to celebrate in this thing together as though I finished it. So I guess one of the things that I do think is that this setback can actually increase my resilience long term. So, I had a never quit history. I'm always going to finish. But when you always finish anything, it's easy to believe that someone's immune to quitting, right? The problem is, if that immune doesn't get tested, it becomes brittle. Then a real high pressure failure finally happens. Could be years later. It can hit so hard that it could, rattle someone and ruin their identity. So this happened early enough for me that I can work with it. I can learn from it. So I'm happy that this DNF happened when it did. I'm happy that it happened in an event that, wasn't, it wasn't like my biggest A race of the summer, right? It was something that I was supporting for my brother. But for me, there's no damage here. The fact that I didn't finish this, there's no damage. My emotional range has expanded, right? I used to say, I push through and I always succeed. I push through. I just push through and I finish. I finish no matter what. Well, now I can say, I pushed and didn't finish, and yet I'm still standing. So that makes me harder to shake next time, because I felt the worst case scenario, and I can see that life continues. Life continues. I'm going to go and I'm going to crush some jogs this week. It's going to feel awesome. It's going to feel awesome. By the way, I forgot to tell you guys, I actually got my coach to approve and okay my 180K this morning bike ride. I texted him first thing this morning, Patrick, I want to go bike this 180K. And he's like, you can do it. Just stay in zone 2 and take it easy. And you can do it if you really need to do this. And then I actually texted him later in the day. I said, I didn't do it, Patrick. And I fessed up to him. I said I was doing it for the wrong reasons. Instead, I'm doing this. I'm owning the day. And like, for him to share with, I had a little heart to heart with him. I shared, and I was like, I realized that I gave it my all. I was there for my brother, blah, blah, blah. And he says, I'm glad you came to those realizations. He says, I know that feeling. And he talked about one of the times he went through something like this and what he did. And he says, I understand what you're going through, and it's okay to feel what you're feeling. And I said, I'm not going to do the 180K. He says, all right, I support you. I'm very happy for you. Anyways, so I get to run my marathon training this week. Other reasons why I'm thinking this might be good is that I have some future Munchkin immunity. I'd never faced the Munchkin, and I faced him today, and I lost yesterday, and I lost pretty bad. Now I know the mental pattern. I know how the Munchkin wins, right? I'm like that, the coach who is studying the opponent, and how do they win? Well, the Munchkin wins when loss of control happens, right? Mounting doubt, right? That happens. Feeling like you're letting other people down. So I have a mental playbook now for catching it early and deploying fixes faster. So athletes who've never hit that wall, often they don't see it coming till they're already in the quit zone. So I know what that munchkin feels like. I know. And I was kind of lying to myself early on, thinking, this will be fine. This will be fine. He's just there, but this will be fine. But I knew that I'd never experimented and I never felt that level of, I'm thinking I might quit. And once he really got a hold of me, it didn't take long for the game to end. So I learned that. Now my identity, another reason that I think this might be a blessing is that my identity becomes more flexible. So right now I'm learning that being a finisher, right, doesn't require a perfect record. It's about how I handle hard things overall. That's what matters. So I have a flexible identity and it's more resilient than a rigid one because I can absorb bad days without breaking. I can have bad days. And finally, I'm proud of what I did, right? So I have pride without perfection. Those two things can exist. They can coexist, right? So it's a sweet spot, I think, for an endurance athlete to be able to push all out, to accept whatever outcome comes, and to still line up for the next challenge without baggage. So this goes for you guys too at home, right? If ever you've DNF'd a race, I used to not get it. I used to not understand how someone could DNF a race. And trust me, I get it. I totally get it. That munchkin comes in regardless what the situation is, right? I just had it there. And he killed me in 15 minutes, right? Once he was really had a toehold in there. You know, I saw those guys just cruising along and I just kept thinking, I can't do this to these guys. I can't do this. I have to quit. Well, that was the munchkin, right? So, you know, I give everything I have to the challenge I take on, whether I love the sport or not. And I did that with biking. I know that success isn't always guaranteed. And even when I fall short of the finish line, I take pride in showing up. You know, I push myself to the limits and I take a stand in that space and I don't let it define me, even if I have to quit. So finishing matters, obviously, but how I carry myself when I don't finish matters more. So every start line that I step onto, I bring the lessons from my hardest day, and I'm hoping it's going to make me stronger than ever. Anyway, so that was my ride. It didn't end with a finish. It didn't end with the finish line. It didn't end with me at the Ontario sign like I thought it would. It did end in the biggest lesson I've learned, I want to say in years or ever, perhaps, one that I'll carry in every challenge that I do from here on out. The lesson is, while I process my own day, while I was processing my own day, my brother was still out there in the rain, the wind, grinding through the very end. He crossed that finish line, completed the mission we set out to do, and I still had success in my day. I didn't finish, and I still had success. Those two things can coexist, and I'm proud of that. And I'm proud I was there for him. I'm proud of the cause. We raised some money for the Bruce Oak Foundation. I'm proud of him. He's so strong, by the way. He told me that at the end. He was like, I could have kept going. I forgot to mention this part. When I told him that I had thoughts of doing the 180K when I went to go see him with ice cream, he's like, I'll go do it with you right now if you want. That's what my brother said. He said, I'll go do it with you right now if you want, the 100K. He thought I needed closure. He thought he didn't know what I was going through. He thought I just wanted that closure. He's like, I'll go do right now. Let's go do the 100K. We'll drive to Nick's. We'll get some. And I was like, it's okay, Charlie. I'm at peace. I'm at peace. I'm good with it. So his ride was the wind. I'm glad I was very part of it. And even if my part ended sooner than I had planned. So this was one big heart to heart. I don't know if it's going to be an episode. At a minimum, I want to keep this for myself. If it does end up being an episode, thanks for listening, guys. I appreciate you guys listening as always. And lesson learned here, eh? You can DNF. You can be proud. You can learn from it. You can move on. Good luck with everything, guys. I'm so thankful for all of you guys and so grateful to be alive and running. I think I'm turning the corner here and I think I'm feeling good again. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you in the next video.